Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC 309, Jones versus Miocic. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight on the card, we have in the women's flyweight division, we got Veronica Hardy versus Eduarda Moura. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Veronica Hardy to beat Eduarda Moura. Yeah, low confidence her to be her. Yeah, I don't know how Moore is going to look at the weight class, so that's why the confidence is not there that much. And to be honest, I'm never going to really have great confidence in Hardy until she does something. I'm running over my words. Until she does something to give me a reason to have great confidence in her. But yeah, Moura has a good talent. She has a good skill set, but I don't know if coming up is going to make her stronger, make her weaker, how she's going to look, or were the problems she had in her last fight even related to her weight? I don't know. Was it related to her struggling to make weight so she didn't have to pop? And is she coming up? That's going to benefit her a lot. I guess one good thing for Moura is the fact that Hardy's not the biggest flyweight, I guess, so that's something good for her. So, maybe come up, she'll actually be the bigger woman and she'll have more technical skills, maybe. But Veronica Hardy has been winning. She's on a good streak right now. And it's not like Moura showed anything so impressive in her striking or in her grappling particularly. But yeah, I think Hardy, the recipe or the thing out there about beating Hardy has been for a while, take her down and grapple her. But that's what people have been trying to do in her past couple fights, and she's been stopping them and beating them. And you can kind of reflect back on her old fights, and that was at 135, before there was a 25 division. So like you said, this chick wrestled her. But in most of those cases, it was at 35. And when she probably was like 20, 21, 22 years old. So she's gotten older, she's gotten more mature, probably got a stronger, more technical, more experience than her prior self. But yeah, Moura definitely can try to bring back that recipe and take her down and control her, maybe sub her, maybe. But Veronica Hardy, I have liked her body of work. Well, I do like her body of work recently more so than I like Moura. Moura hasn't really did nothing. She's gonna do nothing with Gomes for the most part. Then her contender series opponent just wasn't that good. So yeah, Hardy's been putting in the work. She's on a good streak. She's still young. She's still getting better. And I feel like she'll be the better striker. I feel like she'll be the swifter fighter. She's been improving her grappling. Moura should be the better grappler, but I think Hardy could do a good job of not getting taken down and held down too much, or really held down, beat down, subbed, and whatnot. So I think Hardy can do a good job of addressing grappling and just being a faster, more fluid, more active striker and be able to beat Moura to a decision. Probably a close split decision, but I think Hardy will do enough and get her hand raised. So in this one, I have Veronica Hardy via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division. We have Elliott versus Basil Hafez. And how do I feel about this one right here? Did I go lower average? I don't know. Low confidence. Low confidence Elliott to beat Basil Hafez. So Hafez is a pretty good talent, but yeah, both of these guys are good talents. But I do think Elliott is the better overall fighter, and that's why I'm picking him. Not a whole great confidence. Low confidence, good enough confidence here. But yeah, with Hafez, I don't feel like his offensive takedowns are all that great, to be honest. I feel like he has solid BJJ, but nothing mind blowing. But definitely should be the better submission grappler here. Now I feel like the biggest feather in his cap is the Jack Della Maddalena loss, which was like a very close fight. But I feel like in that fight, the reason that he was getting these takedowns against Jack Della Maddalena is because Jack Maddalena was playing BJJ with him. Like he would have him hurt, and then he would pull guard or try to jump on guillotine or do stuff like that, and that would end up with him spending time on his back more so than Hafez just having such great takedown offense. And then even in his last fight, Hafez against Mickey Gall, I think he only had Mickey Gall down for 40 seconds or something like that. I feel like Mickey Gall was out striking him at landing the better, cleaner shots a lot through that fight. And that was a Mickey Gall after 3-4 layoff. I mean, a several year layoff, 3 years off, coming off a brutal knockout to Mike Mayotte. And Mickey Gall has never been a great striker. He's been a grappler, so yeah. I said a whole lot to say this, say that, but yeah, I think Elliott is the better overall fighter. I think he's a much more cleaner technical striker. I feel like he showed his takedown defense in his last fight. And I think he can dress the takedown of Hafez, which isn't all that great, to be honest. I think Elliott can stuff the takedowns and just be the much sharper fighter on the feet and break down Basil Hafez on the feet. And unlike Jack Della Maddalena, he's not going to be trying to see a guy, have a guy hurt and then try to go for a sub or something, or see a guy hurt and doing reactionary takedowns to try to survive and, play his game. He's going to sprawl or get out of the way and then go back to 10 off him. I think he can get Hafez out of here. And I think he does it in the second round via TKO. So yeah, I think Elliott, to sum it up, I think Elliott can address the grappling, keep this fight where he has a huge advantage on the feet, And I think he picks apart Basil Hafez, and I think he puts him away in the second round. So in this one, I have Oban Elliott via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Gall versus Brahimaj. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Gall to beat Brahimaj. So yeah, Brahimaj, he's a okay fighter. I think he has good enough skill set. He has okay striking. He has solid grappling. But I don't know if he's UFC. Well, I'm not gonna say I know he's not UFC level. Let's be honest. Like he could win fights in UFC, and he has won one fight in UFC. He lost like 4 fights in UFC. Like I said, he can win in the UFC. But does he? What I'm saying is he really UFC level, which he isn't. Is can he continue to win, like stack wins together, like and not just be here and gone? And I don't see that. Gall has been in the UFC a long time. Maybe it hasn't been the most consistent, but I don't know where I'm going with that. But back to this one right here. Yeah, I seen Brahimaj out grappled in his last fight. I seen him out struck in many fights. I think Gall is the longer fighter. I think he's the better striker here. I think he's the better grappler here. And Brahimaj, literally his last fight, he got beaten in where his biggest strength is. His biggest strength is grappling, and he got a grapple. Out grapple, he got take it down, muscle, out position, and beat in that area. And it wasn't even the biggest struggle to do that to him by his last opponent. And I think Gall's a much more technical grappler than his last opponent. Maybe not as physically strong, but I think Gall throws more volume. I think he's a little bit more technical on the feet, and I think he's more technical on the ground. I think he has better takedowns. So I think he'll be able to outwork Brahimaj. And I think he beats him by decision. I think a sub or stoppage is here for Gall, but I still see a competitive fight. I just think Gall is ultimately going to outwork him, outposition him, outgrapple him. Competitive fight, but Gall will prevail, and I don't think it's gonna be like it's not gonna be such a toss. It's gonna be competitive, but it's gonna be clear for Gall, and I think he beats Brahimaj here by decision. So in this one, I have Gall via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the heavyweight division, we got Marcin Tybura versus Diniz. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Diniz to beat Marcin Tybura. Yeah. Marcin Tybura is definitely live here. He's definitely live. If he can get his wrestling going, get his fight to the ground, has an extremely good chance to win this fight. That's why his confidence is low. And I'm really not the biggest fan of Diniz. I'm not really high on the kid at all. But he is a young, promising heavyweight. He is undefeated. I've not really been impressed with none of his performances, to be honest. But I guess even with me not being impressed, you got to notice that whether this or that, his takedown defense did improve somewhat from his first fight in the UFC to his second fight in the UFC. So he's a young fighter. He's growing. He's not like undefeated, and he's Brazilian. So they have a wealth of solid grappling, a wealth of solid big dudes as well. So I feel he can get that experience in that training, in that those improvements he need, those touches he need to work on the takedown defense to beat Tybura. And Tybura, has had history where he has been stopped early. Like he's been stopped early in his last fight. I'm talking like he had a history where he was knocked out. Like it was like a streak of like 3 losses where he got knocked out like early in the first round, back to back to back. And your chin's not going to improve. Not say he has a bad chin, but that is a path that is open for him. So Diniz can address the grappling enough and push Tybura back. Tybura does not have the best defense. He doesn't really have much. Like my fact, his head movement is almost non-existent. And his wrestling really is his defense. So you can defend at least 1 or 2 takedowns. Put him on the back foot. He will be open for the shots. I think Diniz could do that. Probably chew up his leg a little bit. Stuff a takedown or 2. Put him on the back foot. And tee off on him against the cage and get Tybura out of there in the first round. Again, not a whole lot of confidence here. But yeah, the kid is young. He's undefeated. He is making improvements. And those improvements going to continue to make whereas Tybura is who he is. And despite being a heavyweight, let me say that it's not like Tybura is some premier heavyweight. He's not. No insult to him, but it's true. He's not a premier heavyweight. So it's not like this guy's going to continue to find ways to win for a prolonged time. But yeah, I think Diniz can address the grappling enough, continue to improve in that department, put Tybura on the back foot early, and put some heat on Tybura early, and get Tybura out of there early. So in this one, I got Diniz via first round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the lightweight division. We got Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Damon Jackson to beat Jim Miller. Yeah, I feel like Damon Jackson has a good style for Jim Miller. I have seen Jim Miller lose several fights by getting taken down and controlled. Not to say that he has bad BJJ. Obviously, he's one of the better BJJ guys in lightweight history and really in UFC history. I'm not gonna say he's top 10 all time, but probably top 20. I think that's fair enough to say. But yeah, Jim Miller's a solid black belt, long time black belt, in many submission wins. He probably has he's like probably number 5 for most submissions in UFC history. So yeah, Jim Miller. I'm not saying he's a slouch in the grappling. What am I saying? I am not saying that Jim Miller is a slouch in the grappling department at all. I'm just going towards trends, and I think stylistically, Damon Jackson has a good style to beat Jim Miller. And as his nickname says, the leash. I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to latch onto Jim Miller and out position him, out control him, and win that battle. We have seen Vince Pichel be able to do that to him, like give up the first round and out grapple, will out position him in 2 rounds. We have seen Joe Solecki do that, give up a round and then control him for 2 rounds, like the first and I think like the third or something like that. We've seen Diego Sanchez do that for like 3 rounds. And yes, it's on the table, and there's been other fights as well. So it's not just those 3 fights, but it's been at least 3 fights where that has happened. And Damon Jackson coming up to lightweight, he's gonna have his chin not gonna be as bad as it is at featherweight. He's gonna be used to dealing with faster, more technical guys. And also, the guy he just fought in the last fight was a guy who has a high work rate, much younger than Jim Miller, and could push that pace. And he still was kind of keeping up with him to an extent. And Jim Miller at this point in his career, like knockouts don't really come as much against solid competition. It don't come up as much. And we saw like when Jim Miller, like when he gets taken down in control, he gets a good grappler. He usually spends a lot of time there. So he's older. He doesn't push as high a pace. He doesn't work back to his feet as much or really at all a lot of times. And I think Damon Jackson can take him down. Damon Jackson has solid sub skills, solid sub defense. And I think he can latch on to Jim Miller, bring him to the ground, and just really outposition him, outgrind him, and win the control time battle. I think Jim Miller is solid enough on the ground to hold his own there. But it's the issue of spending too much time there and not being able to get back to his feet or mount the greatest offense off his back. And I think Damon Jackson will be able to do that round after round after round and get his hand raised over Jim Miller. So in this one, I have Damon Jackson via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. So we got the former middleweight champion Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Chris Weidman to beat Eric Anders. Yeah. I just feel like Weidman beats him everywhere. I feel like Weidman's the better striker. I feel like Weidman's clearly the better wrestler and clearly the better grappler. Weidman clearly has the better experience. Anders is not like some young guy. Anders is this new 28-year-old, 25-year-old guy on the team. Anders is like mid-30s himself. Weidman might be like 40. Anders might be like 30. I'm not even going to look at it. I just looked at Weidman recently. So he's 40. Anders is not far behind. Anders got some power, but it's nothing crazy or nothing we have seen. And to really, I just thought about this literally before I started filming this. I was like, low-key, Eric Anders is really just like a worse version of the Bruno Silva that Chris Weidman beat. And I'm not even saying Bruno Silva when he was at his peak outside the UFC. I'm talking about Bruno Silva as he is today. Eric Anders is like literally like a basically, roughly speaking, a worse version of Bruno Silva. Not as much power, like low output, just like Bruno Silva. Less grappling skills than Bruno Silva. Like less size than Bruno Silva. So yeah, only thing I can say he has better than Bruno Silva right now or ever, well particularly right now, is he has more will. I feel like Bruno Silva just kind of doesn't have the will for him no more. Anders has the will, but it's kind of lacking the skill. And I'm not going to bank so much on Eric Anders getting some knockout punch or having this or having that. And also not like Eric Anders he has such great wrestling defense or he has amazing calf kicks or something. Like he don't. Not amazing. I'm not going to say he has bad takedown defense, but he doesn't have amazing takedown defense. And he doesn't have this. He doesn't have a high work rate. And I think Chris Weidman can outstrike him. I think he can outwork him. I think he can out-wrestle him. And also at the point they are in their careers, knockouts don't materialize as much. So it's not like Anders is just like 28-year ago. Like, the same, basically like Madden, like take 10 years off of Eric Anders' age, and kind of do the same. Like that guy probably could beat Chris Weidman. Like, he's young. He's going with an old Weidman and such and such. Like the history, time beats us all. Like, a younger guy that's, basically Eric Anders like 10 years ago, like a 28-year-old Eric Anders. Maybe that guy beats Chris Weidman, but a 35, 6, 7, 8-year-old Anders, like, what advantage does he have? I don't really see it. I think Chris Weidman beats him here. I think he's able to outstrike him, outwork him, potentially finish him, but I'm going to say like a decision. Eric Anders has shown to be tough. It is only 3 rounds. Chris Weidman definitely well into the twilight of his career, but he's still the better fighter here and should be able to be able to win everywhere this fight takes place, mix it up, and beat Eric Anders by decision here. So in this one, I have Chris Weidman via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, we got I said about to say Jonata. We got Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGhee. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Marcus McGhee to beat Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez's kick game is very good. He's a solid striker, but I feel like where he lacks, and is probably always going to lack, is defensively. He fights very upright, chin pretty much in the same place all the time. Doesn't defend his chin very well. I think the biggest issue for me for Marcus McGhee, or the biggest question mark here, is maybe the length, but really beyond the length, is the leg kicks. How does Marcus McGhee deal with the kicking game, the leg kicks of Martinez? I'm not so worried about Martinez's value. I'm not so much worried about Martinez's experience. It's like, can Martinez make those kicks effective here against Marcus McGhee, or can Marcus McGhee minimize or counter the kicking game of Martinez? Like, can McGhee counter the kicking game of Martinez? Can he address that? That's the biggest issue. But yeah, it's not like Marcus McGhee is like your traditional one stance, heavy on the front foot boxer. That style, that style's kryptonite is what Martinez is. Like a guy that's gonna chew that lead leg up with calf kicks, very crafty, very effective, very heavy on them, very sneaky with them. Yeah, that's that kryptonite. But McGhee's not necessarily a heavy on the lead leg type of guy. He'll switch stance. He'll be unorthodox. He'll chain combinations and switch stance mid combination. And like I said, he's pretty light on his feet. Heavy hands, but very light on his feet and very quick. So yeah, that's why I'm leaning Marcus McGhee. I feel like probably the better wrestler here. As far as takedowns, definitely I don't feel like Martinez is so great with his takedown offense. I'm not gonna say McGee's gonna have such a heavy takedown approach. Might mix a couple in there just cause. But yeah, I think he'll be able to keep Martinez guessing and not just be heavy on one leg and so focused on one stance. And I think he'll be able to close that distance, cover that gap, and throw in combinations. And a guy like Martinez, who does not really have great striking defense, they might be able to get by because most people only throw two punches or one punch at a time. They look for that one big punch or those two big punch or that setup punch, like the jab, then a cross or a jab overhand or something like that. He might be able to get away from those things. But when you can throw a combination like Marcus McGhee can, like be creative, be crafty, mix the levels high low or high low low high, and throw in combinations, those two punches, those 3-4 punches combinations. A guy like Martinez who does not have the best defense, you'll be able to catch him like every single time. I think McGee's gonna be able to do that. Be able to catch Martinez in combinations. Time his kicks come in, probably land a two to the body. Maybe catch him, time in, and come with a cross, come with an overhand, and then also throwing combinations like double the hook to the body and come up top and catch Martinez in transition. Catch Martinez with those combinations. Catch him square, catch him off, and I think he'll be able to break Martinez down over the fight. Martinez having issues trying to judge what stance he's throwing, what combination he's throwing, what punch he's setting up. And I think he'll be able to break Martinez down and stop him in the second round via TKO. So in this one, I have Marcus McGhee via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the lightweight division. We got Mauricio Ruffy versus James Llontop. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going high confidence Mauricio Ruffy to beat James Llontop. And yeah, I feel like Ruffy just a better overall fighter. Llontop got heart, he got grit, he's tough and whatnot. But Ruffy's bigger, he's longer, he's faster, he's more technical, he's the better grappler, the better striker. It's like Llontop just really purely relying on a puncher's chance here. Hey, sometimes that ticket cashes for people. Like sometimes like fighters and the people betting on them, but yeah, Ruffy just has so much steam behind him, so much momentum behind him. And it's not even really all his team, it's really his teams. Like the Fight Nerd's been on the killing streak. And like the main members been killing it, been undefeated in the UFC. Like the main key core guys have been killing it. And he's going to kill it here. And this is on paper, and to me, this is a big mismatch. I think Ruffy will be too quick, too sharp, too diverse, be able to break James Llontop down and put him away second round. So in this one, I have Mauricio Ruffy via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, we got Karine Silva versus Viviane Araujo. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Karine Silva to beat Viviane Araujo. And let's just be honest, this is fully a momentum pick right here. Araujo really is the more well-rounded fighter. She's has shown striking. Silva hasn't really shown the best striking yet. Araujo can wrestle, she can grapple, but she's up there in age. She's like pushing 40. Karine Silva's right in her prime. Karine Silva's bigger, younger, etc., etc., and she can make just enough adjustments in her striking so that she can mix it up, then find success with her takedowns, and be able to edge out Araujo. And it's not like we haven't seen a fighter do that. Like Jennifer Maia was never really known for her striking too much, and Jennifer Maia was able to make the adjustments in her striking enough that she could find success with her grappling. And a lot of point, she did outstrike Araujo. So Silva's younger, similar, I guess, strengths is Jennifer Maia, and she can make that improvement in her strike. She's young, she's in her prime. Araujo's like, you're not going to teach this old dog new tricks, especially not against a young, promising fighter. I think Karine Silva is going to be able to, use her youth, use her size, and also with that youth, like I said, in the youth, you can push more, and also you can still grow. Like, show that growth in this fight, and then use that youth as well to outwork Araujo. Might not be as clean, might not be as technical, but you can always work harder than the next person, next woman, next man. And that's what Karine Silva's going to do. She's going to use her youth to its full advantage, use that momentum to its full advantage, and be able to outwork Araujo, mixing the striking, and to set up her takedowns, win the takedown battle, win the control time battle, and put out more work harder, and beat Araujo by decision here. So, in this one, I have Karine Silva via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going average confidence Bo Nickal to beat Paul Craig. Yeah, Paul Craig's definitely an underrated fighter, to be honest. Like, the skills, like, people try to say, oh, Paul Craig is not good, he's not that. Paul Craig's actually a good fighter. It's just he just one of the fighters that kind of has like those mental lapses. And at this point, I don't think middleweight's his weight class. I feel like light heavyweight was his weight class, and I feel like there was kind of like a desperado move to go to middleweight. And it really is not going to improve his size, not going to improve his strength, not going to improve that. I feel like the thing that he always had to improve was on his mental. Like, stick at light heavyweight, train harder, work on this, put yourself in bad situations, and where you typically crack, and do stuff like that. And maybe put on more mass instead of going down. Like, then going down, all you're doing is spending more time weight cutting than improving your skills. But yeah, Bo Nickal, like, big prospect, biggest prospect in MMA right now. Maybe. Definitely the one with the most eyes on him, the one they try to talk about. And it's the reason they got him so high on his card. So yeah, they're not doing that with a lot of other prospects. Like, they put him on several big cards in this thing. So yeah, he's the biggest prospect. Might not be the best, but he's the biggest. Bo Nickal, yeah. Yeah. I think Bo Nickal will be able to be effective on the feet, be able to crack Paul Craig. Paul Craig doesn't have the best striking defense a lot of times. Doesn't have the best chin. Wilts a lot of time. And I think, what is this? Yeah. I think, Bo Nickal will be able to beat him everywhere. Control where this fight takes place. He's the much better wrestler. He's like a 2-3 time NCAA champion, at least 2-time NCAA champion. So very highly touted wrestler, very credentialed wrestler. Should easily be able to control where this fight takes place. Main thing to avoid is just not getting caught up in an upset, getting caught in some submission. But yeah, I think Bo Nickal will be able to control where this fight takes place. Looking at like a second round TKO for Bo Nickal. Sub is definitely there as well. It's not like Paul Craig is unsubmittable. He has been submitted before by a lesser grappler than Bo Nickal. So that's definitely on the table. But I think Bo Nickal would look to use his wrestling defensively. If he does need to use it offensively, I think he will. And I think he'll use it offensively in a way that maybe he will get a takedown. Maybe he'll look for some ground and pound. Then the second that Paul Craig will start to attack off his back, I think Bo Nickal's just going to disengage. And probably start to fake the takedown. To look to come over top. Look to pressure. Look to fake the takedown. Get Paul Craig to drop his hands for to defend the takedown. Or, yeah. And then be able to catch him over top. And I think Bo Nickal stops Paul Craig in the second round via TKO. After, set him up, get him to drop his hands, come over the top, follow him up, get him out of there. So, in this one, I have Bo Nickal via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in our co-main event, we got Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler 2. So they fought before. Charles Oliveira won. I think by second round TKO. In their rematch now, and how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence Charles Oliveira to beat Michael Chandler. We got a former UFC champion versus the former Bellator champion, Charles Oliveira Chandler. Yeah, average confidence Charles Oliveira to beat Michael Chandler. And yeah, I think at this point, Michael Chandler, he's training hard. He's definitely a great fighter at when he was in Bellator, a long time underrated fighter. But yeah, the guy's pushing 40. He's not really doing anything new. He said he's gonna do this, he said he's gonna do that, but I feel like I'm gonna expect the UFC Chandler we have been seeing come out aggressive, explosive, throw caution to the wind, and lose again. I think Charles Oliveira's, and also it's not a good look that he's coming off a sub loss to Dustin Poirier. That's not a good look for him coming into this fight. It's not. As far as major fights in the UFC, he might say he did this, he did that, he's been in that fight, he did this, he was close to doing this, was close to doing that. But the record at the end of the day is the record. I know a lot of people, a lot of these new fans like to give their fighters of their era that they're watching who got them into MMA or who's new and fresh and relevant right now. They like to give people pats on the back he's good still. He couldn't win a belt. He couldn't do this. He couldn't do that. But it is what it is. Like your record is against relevant competition, like 1-3. You beat Hooker, great. That was your debut in UFC, good win. Beat Tony Ferguson, that at that point doesn't really matter too much at all, especially getting dropped by that Tony Ferguson too. That's not a good look. And then against Oliveira, you lost. Against Poirier, you lost. Against Gaethje, you lost. And then like 2 of those 3 losses you got subbed. So you got subbed by Poirier, you got stopped by TKO by Charles Oliveira. So yeah, so he's like what 1-3 against like relevant comp. So that's not really good look. So you're getting older. You're not really gonna change anything. You still have a good chance here, but I think Charles Oliveira is gonna be prepared for it. And I think Charles Oliveira got much more juice here, and the better record against relevant comp, especially in recent years. So I think Charles Oliveira will be able to march him down, maybe be able to catch some of those right hands with his guard, stab him with knees to the body, catch him with some crosses, and just look to break him down, maybe rip him to the body, teeps to the body, knees to the body, rip him to the body with some hooks. Try to catch him with that stepping knee up the middle and crack him on the chin, calf kick him, just like shoot him down, march him down, break him down. Chandler definitely come out explosive trying to crack him, but I think Oliveira's going to be prepared for it. And look at this, march him down, break him down, walk him to knees, walk him to elbows, and just butcher Charles Oliveira. I said Charles Oliveira, he don't butcher himself. Butcher Michael Chandler. And then eventually get Michael Chandler to start to panic wrestle a bit and shoot shots. And then when he goes for a shot, maybe like an outside single or something, Oliveira's going to be able to snap on a high elbow guillotine, which is one of his better submissions. Probably have to busting Chandler up, leaking it, like busting his nose, busting his mouth up, and Chandler out now, like looking for a takedown. And off that takedown attempt, he's gonna be able to find that guillotine, transition to a high elbow guillotine. Maybe get the pull guard with it, maybe if he needs to, or get it standing. By the way, I see him getting like a high elbow guillotine late in the second round after this, marching Chandler down and breaking him down. Eventually, like cause him to reactionary wrestle, fall right into that guillotine, and get put out second round. So, in this one, I have Charles Oliveira via second round submission. So, yeah. Now to our main event, we have in the heavyweight division, we got Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. We got the greatest fighter of all time versus the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going average confidence Jon Jones to beat Stipe Miocic. I'm not sleeping on Stipe Miocic at all. I'm really not sleeping on him at all. He has a good chance here. Definitely been slept on by a lot of people, but don't think Jon Jones is sleeping on him. And Miocic is definitely not sleeping on himself. So yeah, Miocic has solid wrestling, solid striking, definitely have big power. And to be honest, we have not really seen Jon Jones really fight that long at heavyweight. We've seen him fight like 2 minutes or something. But yeah, gotta go Jon Jones. Just a much more credentialed fighter. He's younger, longer, more well-rounded, better overall striker. Miocic might be the better boxer, but Jon Jones is the better overall striker, the much better wrestler, much better grappler here. I think Miocic wrestling is a little bit questionable because I think he hasn't really fought too many people that try to wrestle him. And when Cormier did wrestle him, that the couple attempts that he did go to, it was a great success. Like he was able to pick him up, throw him on the ground, and get him to the ground pretty quickly and hold him down there for a good amount of time. Like I think he went for like 3 or 4 takedowns in the 2 fights. And the ones he actually went for, like literally went for it, and weren't just to get a reaction. Like the ones he went for, he won like 2 of 2 on them, or 3 of 3 on them. So that's just another thing here. But liking Jon Jones here, average confidence. Miocic is a great fighter, but he also hasn't fought in like 2-3 years. Jon Jones just fought last year. It was early last year, but he fought last year. Has had time to adjust the weight class. Now he had his first fight, got out of the way. I think he's getting in better shape for this one, as we have seen. And I think he's just going to be too crafty for Miocic. Miocic is a solid fighter, going to be a solid win, regardless of what anyone says. It's a legacy fight. Maybe not for the time, but for the legacy, is going to be good for Jon Jones. I think Jon Jones is going to be able to mix in the levels, time with spinning back kicks, look to draw out the power from Miocic and then tie him up, knee him to the body, and kind of fight like a similar approach, similar but not exact approach to how he fought Gustafsson the second time, where he kind of like goes for the takedown to get to the body lock and jam knees into Miocic's gut. Then maybe from there, start to play with a little bit when Miocic starts to expecting the knees or the elbows and the clinch, then look to transition to the takedown after he's broken Miocic down with like knees to the thigh, like high on the thigh, knees to the body, calf kicks, elbows. They look to drag Miocic to the ground, and I'm looking at like a second round submission for John Jones, like just breaking Miocic down, like attacking kicks at distance, drawing Miocic in, ducking, clinching him up, knee him to the body, break him down, and then get him, get him, I guess, training him almost, like training him to give the reaction that John Jones wants to get out of him so they can set the takedown up and set Miocic up for further things, break him down, take his back, probably get him with some elbows, probably drop some 12 to 6 elbows on him as well, get Miocic to give his back, take his back, flatten him out with some ground and pound, and sink in the rear naked choke to stop Miocic in the second round via submission. So in this one, I have John Jones via second round submission. And so that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC 309, Jones versus Miocic. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.